Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. I'm kind of like, I'm in like a limbo situation where I'm excited to be joined with our beloved brother YUSUF Ismail from South Africa, and at the same time getting reports and updates regarding the situation in the Middle East. And we will slowly unpack this as we are receiving updates regarding the conflict in the Middle East. Just a small reminder, brothers and sisters, just within 24 hours, the Israeli military have hit over 220 targets in Lebanon. The toll of the death and the injured hasn't even been started to be dealt with and counted. I saw an image earlier today, I don't know how true it is, of basically carpet bombing certain neighborhoods in deep inside Lebanon. And it's very disturbing. Of course, you got the situation of the Syrian workers. Unfortunately, they were a housing building with Syrian workers and their families were bombed, killing over 23 people and much more. I'm sure once the proper count takes place. Also, the situation in Gaza, and we can't really overlook that due to the situation in Lebanon, where again the genocide continues and bombing of shelters, hospitals, refugee camps is just overwhelming. And we will slowly unpack that, like I said, with our brother YUSUF Ismail. Brother YUSUF, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Nice to have you on the show, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam, Brother Mohammed, and greetings and peace to all those out there, those viewers out there who are coming to listen to this program. It is indeed a disturbing situation that we basically see. So maybe we should kickstart with what's right now happening in Lebanon. You pointed out that the genocide continues in Gaza, but besides that, they've just detained now in the West Bank about 25 Palestinians and keeping them in torture dungeons. So, whilst what's going on in Lebanon is certainly unprecedented, and basically, takes us back to the the invasion of Lebanon in '82, where they decimated something like 25,000 Lebanese and Palestinians. At the same time, it shouldn't be a distraction for what's happening right now in Gaza and the West Bank. So I think maybe if you want to kickstart with any of the latest information that you have, and then I'll basically give my position.
Yeah, I'm very disturbed, and after watching the United Nations Assembly, that was very profound when the props that this terrorist. And what surprises me, brother YUSUF, is that if there's a arrest warrant for this particular individual, how come he wasn't detained at the United Nations Assembly? He was given a platform to play the victim card, and also had some images that he showed how bad how bad the Arab countries are. And what staggered me and shocked me that he mentioned regarding some type of pipeline or some economical benefits for Israel for controlling that path of land, that strip of land. So he mentioned pipeline. He mentioned wires and cables and so forth for technology reasons. And there's a huge amount of people who actually walked out the assembly once he started to get up and walk through to the front of the stage. I don't know if did you see that clip?
I actually saw a clip of it, and I saw the people walking out. And what had happened is that, from what I can look, and I didn't see the entire speech, by the way, I didn't have time. It was played whilst I was at work and at court today, so I haven't yet watched the entire speech. But from the clips that I saw, essentially what Netanyahu was basically pointing out is that they once again raises bogeys, the tyrants of Tehran. It's Iran, it's basically Hamas and Hezbollah, and this is the so-called axis of evil. And the main point is essentially that his entire aim is that Israel is basically the victim, and everybody else is essentially emboldened to take out Israel. So this is a small little tiny Israel, and everybody else is basically out to destroy and get Israel. When in reality of the situation is that Israel's a demon. Israel is a monster that is basically setting alight the entire Middle East with this genocidal campaign all over. And you raise an interesting point about the ICC's arrest warrants. Well, I don't know what the legal position would be within the precincts of the UN General Assembly building itself. But you need to know and understand that the United States is not a signatory to the International Criminal Court, which is different also from the International Court of Justice, which dealt with the genocide application and disputes between countries. So the US is not a signatory to the Rome Statute, unlike your country for that particular matter, and doesn't recognize the ICC, and consequently anything that emanates from the ICC would not obviously be given any kind of validation. And hence this idea that there is in fact an arrest warrant, and to expect that the US to basically undertake to give effect to that arrest warrant, that certainly will not happen in any given circumstance, by virtue of the fact that they don't even recognize the standing, and they're not signatories to the Rome Statute or any of these international conventions which basically guide things like the ICC. But I think what is quite important, and in light of the fact, when we last spoke, we had those pages. You remember those exploding pages? And that was bad enough. That was totally bad enough, where people were just being massacred in markets. These are rigged pages, and they're being killed, murdered in cold blood. And the situation has basically escalated tenfold now, with the reality is that you've got Beirut that is being pounded with a series of airstrikes over the past couple of days. Marwan Bishara, who's an excellent analyst, he's in fact Al Jazeera's senior political analyst. If you have the interview and the discussion by him, he says essentially we have now a situation that this satanic, and I'm calling it satanic, he doesn't describe it as satanic, but the satanic Israeli state, this satanic government, is now drunk on power and impunity. They are so drunk on power and so drunk on victory and so addicted to the kind of insane American support, whether it's the Democrats or whether it's the Republicans, that essentially they've basically exceeded all expectations. What they did, and he made the point, this is Marwan Bishara, go and listen to him. He made the point that what they did in Gaza, they're essentially doing in Lebanon. I don't know if they're going to carpet bomb Lebanon in this. I doubt I don't know, but you never know with Israel. It's a crazy state. They're capable of, if they're capable of the genocide in Gaza and flattening Gaza, as they've totally done, they're capable of doing the same to Lebanon. And from what you can see, they don't care for the reactions, they don't care for the implications, they don't care for the ramifications, and they don't care. This bastard nation does not care for whether they bombard civilian or residential neighborhoods, regardless of what the pretext is. What you can see from the Israeli government is you bomb first and explain later. And you know when they've been questioned, at least in their circles, and even some of their shameless supporters in the US administration, you know what the response is? Well, Hezbollah is now using civilians as human shields. I mean, how insane is this now? How insane, how much more insane, and who believe, and yet you have people who believe them, brainwashed individuals out there who believe them. I don't know if these brainwashed individuals are listening to the stream, but that's why I stated, Brother Mohammed, you can share this StreamYard link, and so we'll deal with some of these repulsive, obnoxious individuals we've dealt with in the past, no holds barred. But we've seen now that the Israeli government policy is bomb first and explain later. Just before we, started the stream, I just want to bring attention to people of this phenomenal masterclass of a debate that took place this week between Mehdi Hassan and Elon Levi, that propagandist who's now been fired by the Israeli government. But we've spoken a lot about him over the past several months when he was indeed the Israeli spokesman. But you will essentially see, and it's in the context of what's happening right now in Lebanon, but you will essentially see how these lies are being totally deconstructed. And I mean, these people lie with a straight face. It's shameless. When I saw the discussion and the debate, he starts off with making allegations of necrophilia. I mean, do people know what necrophilia is? Check up the definition of necrophilia online and see what it means. Shocking. He's making those allegations against the Palestinians. He's making the allegations again of rape and burning of children and children in oven. And so Mahdi Hassan essentially tore him apart, destroyed him in the similar fashion that he did with Piers Morgan yesterday. Watch the Piers Morgan Uncensored program. We can probably play a clip as we go on later. And we'll show the links so people can view those programs after this particular discussion, because they're fantastic talking points that you can pick up and use to educate those who are so brainwashed by the Israeli Hasbara that they can't differentiate between their elbow and their behind. So I think this is the reality of the situation. The one good thing, and from what I can see, the latest reports that have come back now from 20 minutes ago, is that Hezbollah is in fact pledging to keep up the resistance, which everybody should support until Israel stops its war in Gaza. And this is the whole problem. The idea that is being presented by the satanic state is that every other person and country and movement around it is an existential threat. This paranoid schizophrenic state believes everybody around it is an existential threat. So they cited, as Netanyahu did shamelessly at the UN General Assembly, they cited Hezbollah, they cited Iran, they cited the Houthis, they cited Yemen. The reality of the situation is that Hezbollah have made it clear. They've made it clear that if you stop the bombings and the decimation and the genocide in Gaza, then they will desist from these rocket attacks, which, by the way, are ineffectual. Nobody dies. And secondly, kudos and all support to Hezbollah. They've limited their attacks against Israel to military installations. So, for example, on the 8th or 9th of October, when they attacked the, I think, Al-Shiba camp, it was a part of the, I believe, the Golan Heights. And that was occupied Israeli territory, and they went for military installations. Look at Iran as an example. Iran was attacked, and they had a very poor response. They just, warned them about 48 hours before that. But Iran even made the point that we don't care if you've killed Ismail Haniyeh. We are willing to forego all of that, provided you stop the genocide. The Houthis have made the same point. They gave the ultimatum to Israel. They said, "Look, we will stop blocking ships if you stop killing and murdering men, women, and children." Clearly in cold blood now, because there's no longer bombings. I think people need to realize there's no longer bombings where you can still make that excuse, well, you didn't know, even though it's still murder. Now it's people being shot dead in the head. So you've got medical doctors in the United States that have been to Gaza, and they've seen clearly children and civilians with bullet wounds to their head, just like in the Flower Massacre, the famous Flower Massacre, where people were looking for flour and the lies were being told about them that they died in a stampede. It just so happened that all of them who died had bullet wounds to their head. They were clearly murdered by these Israeli snipers. So the point is that as it stands right now, the resistance must continue against Israel. But Israel is setting essentially a dangerous precedent, such a dangerous precedent in the sense that for those people who support Israel now, think of the implications of what they are doing, what they allowed to Israel to get away with. Because now this would essentially mean that every other country on earth, whether you call them Putin or Assad or whoever for that particular matter, they could then make the excuse, well, Israel can get away with killing of children and women and babies. Why can't we? And so this is the reality of the situation. I mean, just to speak about Beirut itself. I mean, and Beirut is, and by the way, the civilian deaths that have been targeted, these can be confirmed by the official government health ministry. And unlike what they do in Gaza, the health ministry in Beirut and the medical centers and the hospitals, they are not aligned in any way to Hezbollah. So you can't call this Hezbollah numbers. I mean, just look at the Haret Harik district. There were 6 residential buildings that were totally leveled. They were destroyed, flattened, and the rescuers are still attempting to evacuate those survivors out of the very few survivors that exist to hospitals. So if Russia were to do this to Ukraine, and Russia hasn't come anywhere close to doing anything of this magnitude to Ukraine, imagine the outrage there would be. Imagine the global, or at least condemnation from the major players, the United States, the United Kingdom, and all those hypocritical states that will speak out. If China were to do something of this particular nature, imagine the outrage by the United States government and the other hypocrites that are in line of this. But because it's Israel, essentially, Israel basically can get away with anything. And so, not surprisingly, even though Netanyahu has gone to the UN General Assembly, but by virtue of the resistance and by virtue of what is happening in Beirut, he's had to cut short his trip. And I think we've reached such a situation where the reality is that this is no longer about self-defense. This is on the one hand about his own political survival, because if the war ends, he will go straight to jail for corruption. And number 2, it's because this is embedded within the Israeli psyche that this is what they do. Israel, in fact, kills. Israel, in fact, murders. Israel destroys. It has to kill. The very basis for the survival and the existence of Israel is that it has to basically engage in massacring and ethnically cleansing the indigenous community there. That's how Israel, in fact, exists. Without that, without the killing, without the mass extermination, without the ethnic cleansing, Israel as a nation, as an ideology, will cease to exist. I'm not saying physically, but as an ideology, the Zionist ideology will in fact cease to exist. So that's the reality of the situation that we see. And the response again from the United States has again been very much muted. The only main kind of reply was that they've got no further information, and that the United States was not involved in the particular operation and had no further advanced warning as such, which I find pretty difficult to believe or accept. But the reality of the situation is that it's becoming it's a crazy state. It's gone beyond insanity. It's lost all, and if it can do it to Lebanon, there's nothing preventing it from doing it at some point, maybe to Qatar or to Yemen for that particular matter. It could do it to Yemen. It could do it to Iran if it wants to. I mean, now it's already set the precedent. It's attacked and assassinated. And by the way, just one point. We've always been told by these hypocritical apologists for Israel that Israel takes immense precaution. Well, and it's precision. Well, if that is indeed the case, and it succeeded in doing so in the assassination and the killing of and murder of Ismail Haniyeh, but why was it unable to do so within its own occupied territory? In a foreign country, it can have precision targeted killing, but in its own particular occupied territories, it cannot engage in precision targeted killing. And if it claims to be engaging in precision targeted killing, then how do you justify the now close to, I would say, maybe approximately 80,000 dead? Although the conservative figures are 41,000. Are those all 41,000 accidental killings or accidental murders? What are they? Is that all culpable homicide, negligent and unintentional killing? It's insane. The situation is totally insane, Mohammed.
Yeah, I'm just reading up regarding these new explosives that the military is using, the IDF. It's called the bunker buster bombs, and they weigh over 2,000 kgs, kilograms, and they are designed, of course, to hit deep into the bunkers or tunnels, or I'm sure these were used
Yeah.
within Afghanistan when it came to the situation regarding the caves and targeting, Bin Laden and whatnot. So for me now, and I just want to echo what you said, Brother Yusuf. It's very important that now the fact that if any other country wanted to use any type of mobile device or any device as a pager or a phone to as a means to blow up a so-called subject or disable somebody, they are fully entitled now because Israel
Yeah.
have set the standard now, and they can't cry if something happens to them now. And yeah, okay, I've just seen the backstage thing. Okay, I
Here's
just
a
want to
chat. Just
mention, yeah, I just want to mention the link has been pinned, and
yeah.
if anybody wants to jump on, feel free to jump on from the non-Muslims, and feel free to challenge us. But all I request is that you put your camera on backstage and you are pleasant in your speech. Also, we've got a live poll pinned. So far, we've got 17 votes, and appreciate that. So far, the question has been put up in the poll is has Israel the right to defend Israeli occupied territories, which is a very controversial question and very thought provoking. So I really want you to really ponder upon that. And like I said, the link has been pinned. If anybody wants to come on, you're most welcome. Do you want to share the screen
Yeah,
now?
just share the point. You were making the point about the 5,000 bunker, 5,000 pound. I've
Oh,
just
there,
shared
yeah.
a page with you. Here we are. I think it's here. The new bunker buster bombs used in Beirut. If you can clearly see the screen there, that's Elijah Magni, a military analyst, says the ordnance used by Israel, a very new type of bomb, the GBU-72. That's what it's called. This weapon is an advanced 5,000 pound. That's a 2,200 kilogram bunker buster that will destroy an entire building. And the bomb has been used for the same objective. He said that Israel wanted to confirm the kill and wanted to make sure nobody is going to be alive. So what do you do in such a situation? Nobody's going to be alive. You kill everybody. It was dropped with a fraction of it, which allowed the bomb to reach the bunker and bring down entire structures. We're talking about 4 to 6 buildings. That is several bombs of this caliber used against one target. So if there's one person, even a one person who they view to be Hezbollah, they'll use several, they will bring down 6 buildings and kill thousands of people in the process. I mean, this is Beirut as we are talking, as we're going down. Look at this. This is a view of a building hit by an Israeli missile attack. Lebanese soldiers are standing guard after multiple Israeli attacks hit the capital. And I don't know what the Lebanese government is really doing. They seem to be ineffectual. I mean, if the Lebanese military and Hezbollah would have joined forces, at least you'd have something. This is another resident that describes, this is about an hour ago, complete chaos following the Israeli attack. I'm in a kind of a shock. I was coming back home from work and suddenly it's like you're surrounded by thousands of gas bottles all exploding at once. People were screaming. Women were screaming. It was chaos. And where do these people go? Because you know what? Netanyahu, and speaking for the English media, was stating that, look, they're giving enough warning and they, after everything is done, they can come back home. Well, they've got no homes left. That's exactly what you told the Gazans. You flatten Gaza. Where do the Gazans go? They've been reduced to destitution and beggary. You've got the damn bloody audacity to talk this kind of rubbish, to say they can go back when it's clearly killing. Israel does not care about calls for a ceasefire. This is Lebanese, well, I mean, really ineffectual minister Najib Mikati says Israel's attacks on Beirut show it does not care about efforts to bring about a ceasefire. And I mean, this has been going on now for a couple of days now. This is another journalist, Dosa Jabari. The feeling is Israel isn't just fighting Hezbollah, it's fighting the Lebanese population. Dahia, home to about 700,000 people, has been heavily affected. Many believe these so-called targeted strikes are not precise, and basically stating that Israel shows no regard for the civilian life in its efforts to eliminate what they call Hezbollah members. So, but you know what is even more remarkable? I think there was the Minister of Education of Israel, and he made the point, I think it was just 2 days ago, that Lebanon should in fact be annihilated. Lebanon should be totally annihilated. Israeli minister, he says Lebanon should be totally annihilated. I'll try and see if I can get this. This was about 5 days ago. If I can probably share this, it's here. Let me see if I can open this here. I'll try and share the screen here. But listen to what he says in the translation. I'm going to share the screen and see what this Minister of Education of Israel basically states about what should happen to Lebanon. Listen carefully. We'll expand this, and we'll basically. By the way, here's the Mahdi Hassan interview. I urge you to basically have a look at it. But listen to this. Listen to this.
לצרפתים ולאחרים, מה שנקרא, ממדינות העולם שטוענות את זה, אין שום הבדל.
There's no difference between Hezbollah and Lebanon. That's what the scoundrel states.
בין חיזבאללה ללבנון. לבנון תושמד לאור כמו...
The way things are progressing at the moment, Lebanon will be annihilated.
שהדברים מתקדמים, ואני אומר את זה אפילו עכשיו בצורה מאוד בוטה.
And I say this now in a blunt way.
אנחנו באירוע שבו לבנון הולכת לקראת השמדה. לא תהיה אותה לבנון כמו שהם מכירים. אני לא הולך להתעסק בצייד קטיושות של חיזבאללה. את המחיר לתוקפנות מאדמת לבנון תשלם מדינת לבנון.
So the price of aggression will be paid by Lebanon.
סליחה, השר קיש, אתה השתמשת במילה, אני לא, אמרת, ביקשת שאני לא אקטע אותך. תושמד. השמדה יש לה
Ushmad, annihilation in Hebrew has a connotation. Annihilation. It's very common in the Old Testament.
לוח העברי, אתה יודע, לשר הביטחון אמר, תחזור לימי האבן.
אתה יודע מה?
So the defense minister said Lebanon will be going to the Stone Age. What do you say? So then the minister states, I'm correcting myself.
תקן את דבריי, לא תושמד. לבנון כמו שאנחנו מכירים אותה, לא תהיה קיימת. לבנון תשלם את המחיר הכבד בגלל חיזבאללה. ואני מתקן את דבריי, לא תושמד, אבל אני...
So, you see, it will not be annihilated, it'll be more precise, it will cease to basically exist from what we can see. And that's the Minister of Education, and this basically then gives a lie to Netanyahu's charade when he was speaking to the English press, where he made the point that their attack and war is not with the Lebanese people but with Hezbollah. It's total lie, because this is what you know, in the Israeli press they say one thing, and in the English press, to create this kind of confusion, they say something else. So that's the minister that's there. That's the Israeli minister. He clearly states that Israel will be annihilated, that Israel should not exist. He's the Israeli Minister of Education. This was basically 6 days ago. And I think essentially what we need to do is realize that this essentially goes to suggest that Israel doesn't basically care. Israel does not care.
You mentioned something very interesting, Brother YUSUF. The question has to be asked, is Israel dragging the US into a Mid-East quagmire? Meaning, the question is, I'm trying to pose to you, is that the US has given its undivided support for Israel. Do you think Israel really want America to be more active in the war and possibly get deeply into attacking Iran and supplying weapons, just like they are doing with Russia and Ukraine in the form of NATO. Do you think, like I said, Israel really want America to get fully involved?
I think ideally they would. Most definitely, they definitely would. If you basically looked and listened to the deputy U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Robert Wood, when he was questioned about these device bombings, which, by the way, the former CIA director Leon Panetta, remember this, Leon Panetta himself stated that those device bombings were terrorism under international law.
The CIA, head of the CIA, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he's the head of the head of the CIA.
Former head of the CIA, he confirmed it. But the present administration is now making excuses for what Israel has been doing in Lebanon, including those device bombings, to the extent that they are suggesting that Israel is facing this existential threat from a terrorist organization. And so because of these rocket attacks, Israel has got no particular, distinguishing in terms of, what to do. They've got no alternative, which is total nonsense. The reality of the situation is that Israel would like the United States to get involved. Israel would love a situation that the United States attacks Iran. And I think the point we need to realize now is that, the United States has got no morality itself as a system. The government, at the very least, there's no right and wrong. I mean, everything that's been done over the past several decades has been on the path of wrong, on the path of war. It's been also a country that has been sustained through imperial adventures in the Middle East and in other parts of the world, in Central Asia, in Africa. The famous case of Black Hawk Down in Somalia, Mogadishu, and so on. And the point being made is that it would like a situation that the United States probably gets more actively involved, and from their perspective, even starts attacking Iran. They would love that. They would love the war. And so we now have a situation that just like the former Minister of Defense, YUSUF Gallant, at the outset and the beginning of the attack on Gaza, stated that there's no difference. We are dealing with human animals. If you recall his famous statement, we are dealing with human animals and we will deal with them accordingly. There'll be no food, no water, no shelter, nothing for the people in Gaza, which they've starved over the past couple of months. And now you have that members of the Knesset, in particular the Israeli Minister of Education, made it quite clear that there's no difference between Hezbollah and Lebanon will be annihilated. It will cease to exist. This was on the 21st of September. So Israel states, and they make no qualms about the fact that they are going to engage in genocidal activities. And then you have to juxtapose it with the actions where they actually do engage in genocide. I mean, over the past, we're now looking at about how many days? It's 350, well, I think probably next week or the week after next, the 7th of October, will be 365 days. As it stands now, you have a situation that the bombs, bullets, and the targeted assassinations and killings have killed and maimed more than 147,000 Palestinians in Gaza over the past, I think, 352 or 53 days. I think we're now on the 27th of September, so you're looking at about 356 or 57 days. They've maimed so many people. And basically, we have a situation that all of Gaza's population, all, there's no exception, all 2.3 million have been forcibly displaced. Not even a percentage, but all of the 2.3 million people have been forcibly displaced by this bombardment, by this invasion, by this complete siege of the coastal enclave, which has basically fueled widespread and deadly starvation and disease in a general sense. That's the reality of what we see. I don't know how you have a situation. There was an interesting article in the Truth Out. Is that how does Israel justify mass killings? And the response is that it starts in the schools. It starts in the schools. There was an interesting article by George Yancey from the Truth Out magazine. And he quotes the historian George Fredrickson in a book called The Black Image in the White Mind. And in the quote, he states, and you read it out, in the years immediately before and after 1800, white Americans often revealed by their words and actions that they viewed black people as permanently alien and unassimilable element of the population. And within the context of white American domination, anti-black racist stereotypes basically framed black people as inherently unfit, as problematic, as divorced from the category of what it is to be a human, which is a category that is apparently synonymous with whiteness. And essentially what the writer of this particular article makes mention is that in appealing to this, he states that this dehumanization has been extended to the Palestinians, to the otherness. So, throughout the world, there are groups of people that are deemed other, in inverted commas, and their otherness is imposed by those who control the dominant forms of discourse. Those who have this power to demean, to marginalize. And historically, the schools and religious institutions have basically underwritten, and they have promoted and brainwashed young children into accepting this dehumanizing discourse. And that's what's happening in Israeli schools, and particularly some of the religious schools and the secular schools, where the Palestinians are deemed as subhuman. And so the Israeli children are taught from a very young age that the Israeli school books, the Israeli schools, the textbooks, they powerfully frame anti-Palestinian discourse, and they inculcate into Israeli children, they've been doing this for decades, with suspicion, with fear, and with hatred of Palestinians. Exactly what the Nazis in Germany did with the German youth, like the Hitler's youth. They inculcated the same thing. It just shows how fascist, how racist, how evil this Israeli state is, how sadistic it is, that you have to brainwash children from a young age. I mean, you remember that song we played a couple of months back, the friendship song. You remember that, Mohammed? Where those children singing of bombing and destroying the particular Palestinians, children just like them. And so this is the reality of what you see here. I apologize for my tiredness, but I've had a couple of long days. So I'm just trying to get a few things out there so people kind of get to know that, the reality of the situation. When you have a situation of a country that has racist laws that justify racist laws, like, for example, the law of citizenship, that justifies inequality and it's entrenched within the legal system, and that entire discrimination and confinement of Arab citizens is legitimized by the excuse that Jews need to be a majority to maintain the Jewish character of the state. That in itself is essentially racism. That is evil. And any person that is mentally disturbed or sociopathic or psychopathic, you have to be a sociopathic psychopath to defend such kind of insanity and insane behavior.
The question will be, for me, will there be a land invasion? I think previously in 2000 odd, Israeli forces did do a land invasion of Lebanon, and they were smashed by Hezbollah and the Lebanese army. I do recall that. So I'm assuming they are just going to use air power, because of course the Lebanese and Hezbollah haven't really got any, weaponry that can take out aeroplanes or helicopters or so forth. So it's going to be very interesting. But once again, brothers and sisters, the link has been pinned. We've got about another 20 to 15 minutes, inshallah. If you want to come on and maybe say a few words or ask some questions, you're most welcome to jump on. But nevertheless, I just want to go in some good news that I received my 2 signed copies, one for Brother YUSUF, yourself, brother, a signed copy with your name. It will be sent to you once you send me your address via email. And the other one for the sister. And again, it has been named Ahmad Ar-Rahman and been signed also. So we've got these 2 copies, hopefully heading towards the Brother YUSUF and Sister Ahmad Ar-Rahman. And also I was given a little Palestinian badge here. I don't know if you can see it, guys, by a friend. Yesterday we did a quick live stream. John Homer, who is a candidate, a possible candidate for the Workers' Party of Britain. So I think I've got all your emails, so I'll be emailing you just to confirm your address. And then, God willing, inshallah, next week or so, I'll be posting the books out to you. Inshallah, hopefully you'll receive them. There are quite a few people in the chat who are seem to be pro Israel, and this is opportunity. The link has been pinned.
Yep.
So if you want to come on and so come on.
I just want to share something with you if I can,
Sure.
whilst we're waiting for these individuals here.
Sure. It's called, sorry, brother, the brother's asking me what book it is. This book is actually written by children, and it's called, you can get it from Amazon. I've got a copy for my son. He's going through it right now. He's 11. And so Voices from the Olive Trees, you can go on Amazon and you can purchase it from there. And it's actually a couple of children who actually share their stories, living in Palestine. And it's quite, subhanAllah, it's quite, emotional, to be honest, especially when you're hearing children telling the stories of conflict and war. And it's coming from a pure heart, as you say, pure heart, when children speak and share their thoughts regarding conflicts and war. So if it's possible for you guys to buy it, buy it just to support the noble cause. Much appreciated. Jazakallah khair. So far, we've had 22 people voting in our vote. 27% have said yes, and overwhelmingly 73% have said no, that Israel has not got the right to defend its occupied territories. And he touched upon the debate the other day with Mehdi Hassan. He was very excellent in debunking Piers Morgan. I definitely would recommend you, brothers and sisters, to
I
go
want to
ahead
share
and watch
that. Just
debate.
maybe just share a link of that. But whilst I'm sharing that, just in terms of Israel's the right to defend itself, under Article 51 of the UN Charter, an occupied power has absolutely no right to defend itself against that nation which it occupies. So, for example, during the heights of apartheid, there was the armed struggle by the ANC and the Pan-Africanist Congress, and they had militant wings. Now, for a white regime and the white regime was brutal. It basically killed and massacred many people. You had many massacres: the Boipatong massacre, the Bishop massacre, the Sharpeville massacre, and so on. Nobody in their right mind will basically state that, look, the government has a right to defend itself. Did the white regime have the right to defend itself? Did Nazi Germany have the right to defend itself? This is the argument that people are making. But there was a debate by Mahdi and Elon Levi, but this is the Piers Morgan interview, which I think you've got it there. I'm just going to expand it, and then
we were planning, brothers and sisters, just a quick update. Myself and Brother YUSUF and possibly John Homer from the Workers' Party of Britain, we might do a joint kind of like a preview or a review of this discussion and break it down, because it is a phenomenal discussion where Mehdi Hassan destroys and really, I think Piers Morgan he basically exposes himself in such a bad way. And I love the way Mehdi turned the tables around and put it onto Piers Morgan. And it was phenomenal, amazing debate.
Have a listen to this. Have a listen to this just for a few minutes, just to see, and then people can view it later.
People are not aware of the fact that Israel occupied Lebanon, southern Lebanon, for 18 years, from 1982 to 2000, when they withdrew, although the Lebanese argue that there's still an occupation of a piece of Lebanese land called the Sheba Farms. So in that sense, they're similar. They're obviously different in some of their tactics. They're different religions. Well, they're different sects. I apologize, not different. They're both Muslim, but one is Shia, one is Sunni. They're both backed by Iran. I mean, look, there's similarities, differences. I think what's really interesting this time round is we've seen for a year Israel killing thousands of civilians in Gaza and saying, well, Hamas is to blame because of human shields, because of tunnels. That argument just does not work in Lebanon. They've killed 550 people, Piers, on Monday. An insane amount of people in a single day, one of the highest single-day death tolls in modern warfare. Almost all of them civilians, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry, which is not Hezbollah, by the way. You know, they always say Hamas-controlled health ministry in Gaza. So I think what we've seen is so phenomenally bad on Israel's end and so little defense. You know, October 7th was used, as you and I have discussed before, as the excuse for killing tens of thousands of Palestinians.
Well, I would categorize it differently. I don't think they used it as an excuse to go and kill tens of thousands of Palestinians. They responded to one of the most egregious terror attacks of modern times.
But when does the response end? We're nearly a year in.
Well, that's the question. That is the question.
Well, that's when it becomes an excuse. When you carry on killing.
Is it an excuse, or is it that they are wedded to the elimination of Hamas because Hamas has persistently said, we want to keep doing the same thing over and over again? And there's a correlation with Hezbollah, whose charter is very explicit. They stand for the eradication of Israel. I mean, that's what they're about.
That doesn't justify killing 500 people in a single day.
I didn't say it did, but
that's what bothers me. That's what happened this week. That's the big story. Hezbollah's charter is irrelevant to what we're talking about. That's not why they killed 500 people on Monday, Piers. Hezbollah's charter has been around for years.
I don't think it's irrelevant that you have a terror group on your doorstep who are wedded to your extinction. Why is that irrelevant?
I think the language you use is loaded, Piers. You say on your doorstep. Do you know they did a poll of Americans a while back who thought that Palestinians were occupying Israel? When we talk about this stuff, we make it sound like Israel is the one being occupied, besieged. Israel's the one that's occupying the West Bank, Gaza, longest military occupation in the world, going back to 1967. Israel is the country that occupied southern Lebanon. I mean, everything, the world did not begin on October the 7th. 1978, Israel invades southern Lebanon. 1982, Israel invades southern Lebanon. Sabra and Shatila massacre. 2006, Second Lebanon War, murder 100 people.
But you always make it sound like they're just doing this for the sake of it. They're not.
What are they doing it for?
Well, they've been provoked by Hezbollah.
Hezbollah didn't exist in 1978.
Okay, I'm talking about the specifics of going on now. The provocation since October the 7th. Hezbollah's first response to October the 7th was to unleash rockets on Israel.
That's not true.
On October the 8th.
That's not true. That's not true.
That is what happened.
Where did they fire the first rocket?
They fired rockets on the 8th.
Where?
Well, you tell me.
No, you just said they fired at Israel. Where?
You tell me. So he's making the accusation, but he doesn't know.
Well, they fired in the direction of Israel.
Where did they hit? They fired at the Sheba Farms.
Tell me.
I do. They fired at the Sheba Farms, which, as I said earlier, is an area of Syria. Well, the Lebanese claim it's Lebanon. Syria claims it's Lebanon. Israel says no and is occupying the Sheba Farms. They fired at Israeli military installations in the Sheba Farms. Now, have they got fired in Israel?
So they were firing at Israel. They were firing
yes.
at an area that Israel says is theirs.
No, Israel doesn't say that. Israel says it's Syria's. Because remember, Piers, Israel is occupying Syria and the West Bank and Gaza. And Lebanon would argue parts of Lebanon. This is the problem, right? The core of the problem is Israel's territorial expansionism.
It's a mess.
Attacks, not a mess. It's Israel occupying multiple Arab lands, which leads to quote-unquote resistance or quote-unquote terrorism, whichever word. I don't care what word you want to use right now. But that is the core, right? You had John Mearsheimer on the show this week, made the same point. Deal with the occupation, then you deal with the violence. And look, has Hezbollah fired into Israel at civilian attack? Yes, I don't agree with that. But the reality is 82% of the exchange of fire between Lebanon and Israel since October the 7th has been done by Israel.
Okay.
82%.
But is
that not a provocation of
Let
Hezbollah?
me finish my point, which is that since October the 8th, 19,000 missiles, rockets have come from Hezbollah to Israel, right?
But way more from Israel into Lebanon.
Well, I'm sure,
82%.
Of course they've responded. What else are they supposed to do?
82%.
But
this is not two equal sides.
So they can't defend themselves.
But the vast majority of attacks is on Lebanon.
Okay, but would you condemn the firing of rockets by Hezbollah or not?
of course, I condemn all attacks on
Okay.
civilian targets.
Well,
we
we'll
know
come
that,
to-
Piers. We've discussed this
I'm going to
many times
come to
before.
Israel's
I don't
response.
come on shows to defend militant groups or
Okay.
foreign governments.
Okay,
I
so-
come on shows to say, let's end the violence.
Yeah.
Let's sort out what the solution is.
Yeah.
Let's look at the root cause of the violence.
I-
It is undeniable that the root cause of the violence is Israel, Israel's occupation, the genocide in Gaza. What did the leader of Hezbollah say? He said, we won't fire any rockets if you end the killing in Gaza. What did the president of Iran say? We won't retaliate for what you did to Ismail Haniyeh on Iranian soil if you end the killing in Gaza. What did the Houthis say? We'll stop blocking ships if you end the killing in Gaza. Where do all roads lead back to?
Why would you
End
believe?
the
Why would
killing
you
in
believe
Gaza.
any of those?
So I urge you to watch this entire. It's about 53 minutes long, but it's a masterclass in journalism. He takes Piers Morgan to the cleaners and dumps him essentially. So for those who are interested in watching that particular, I think it's one of the better interviews, one of the best interviews on this particular conflict that has been on the Piers Morgan show, where he's essentially decimated each and every single point and question that Piers made. You begin to question whether it's in fact his own show or not. And then of course there's the other debate which he had with the former Israeli propagandist and spokesperson Elon Levi. Watch that. That's also online. And I think, Mohammed, you could probably post that link. We haven't gone into discussing the full 10 talking points, but we will do so in the future. We thought that there are a number of issues that are basically there, and probably with someone who would be willing to debate us, we could probably deal with these particular issues. Is anyone in the link, anyone in the chat, in the side chat, that wants to come on and question us, or challenge us, and defend the genocide that is taking place? Let us know.
No, we had some people come backstage, and then without putting the camera on, they went away quite swiftly. But there's nobody backstage, so we give it another few more minutes. I've put the link
A few
again
minutes, and then
in
we
the
can
chat.
wrap it up. Wrap up the program. Yeah.
inshallah. I'm just going through the updates right now in some of the news channels, the outlets. This particular bombing campaign that just took place in South. In Beirut, it's like a whole neighborhood has just been demolished by the Israeli Air Force. It's a sight out of something where you watch some type of apocalypse movie, where like The Walking Dead or whatever, after 30, 40 years, buildings are collapsed and so forth. It's it's devastating to see that there's possibly people underneath that rubble, innocent people, women, children, elderly, men and women, and it's just devastating. It really is. And at the same time, the war has definitely a war now in Lebanon. At the same time, the situation in Gaza is getting worse. And recently, I did read a report. I don't know if you read that report off of a container.
I've got the New York Times report that basically describes it like Judgment Day. I've just posted on the link. If you can probably bring it up, but it's just this is strange enough. I'll try and expand it. This is basically the New York Times, and this is from 8 minutes. This is actually 2 minutes ago. From the New York Times, the residents are describing this attack. So it's a New York Times. Not a pro-Palestinian site like Al Jazeera, it's a pro-Israeli paper. They're describing it. It was like Judgment Day. Residents flee deadly Israeli strikes near Beirut. And this is the kind of aftermath. The aftermath from this is 2:18 p.m. That's actually now Eastern Standard Time. So it's basically just like 2-3 minutes ago from now. And you mentioned the neighborhood. This is the entire neighborhood is gone. The entire neighborhood is gone. So when these scoundrels and scumbags state, like Netanyahu did, that look, you can basically, we are giving you warnings and then you leave, and after we deal with Hezbollah, you can come back. Where do they come back to? Where the hell do they come back to? They've got no more homes. They've got no places. This is Lebanon's health minister said the toll from the strike was likely to rise. Israeli strikes had caused a complete decimation of 4 to 6 residential buildings. These are residential buildings filled with people. Whoever is in the buildings is now under the rubble, dead. They dead under the rubble. They dead. And just like in Gaza, they're trying to retrieve the dead. Israel, this is an insane state. This is a New York Times article. Lebanese TV are stating, look at the crater. Look at the hole. Now imagine if for those hypocrites out there, if this was your house, I mean, let's assume you lose your entire family. You are the only person that's left. No school, your mother, father, children, uncles, aunts, all killed. You alone are left, or you are left basically maimed. What kind of life is that? I mean, do people consider this? It says the one of the witnesses said it was like Judgment Day, Yom Al Qiyamah. I can't describe it. Was at Dahia when the explosion sent shockwaves through the surrounding streets. The city is still shaking with fear and panic widespread. The only way to stop this is to use force against the state of Israel. That's why Hamas has to be supported, its resistance at the very least, insofar as it attacks and destroys Israeli military installations. And Hezbollah has to be supported, and the Houthis have to be supported. The rest of the Muslim nations around that area are just asleep. They're doing nothing. I mean, if they were to collectively come and eliminate this mosquito with its nuclear weaponry, it would be over. But they're sleeping. The Muslim world is basically sleeping. Muslim leaders, Muslim world, the community, the country, there's a few individuals out there, and their response is not, Iran's response has been very dismal over the past several months. And Hezbollah has got limitations. Hamas has got its own limitations. The only one group that you can look at with some degree of, there's lots of questions about them, but with some degree of actual admiration are the Houthis standing up for the Gazans. But you are dealing with society.
I also wanted to mention that container that was, unfortunately, the container that was given to the health ministry in Gaza containing, I think, 80 bodies, and somehow
89 bodies.
Is it 89?
I was just looking at that now. I was looking at that right now. Just let me show that. It's strange that you're bringing that up. It's like we have a synchronicity. I was just looking at this right now. I'll share this on right now. Here's it here. Here we are. Let me remove these adverts here. Israel returns decomposed bodies of 89 Palestinians. What the situation was, the Gaza media office stated that Israel had stolen about 2,000 bodies since October 7th. And then these bodies were decomposed, meaning they were filled with maggots. Dead, decomposed, broken bodies. Now they've returned them, and they've returned them in a position where they are basically like in an entire big container. Now imagine you having an entire family dumped, decomposed in a container with maggots and flies and worms all over it, half decomposed bodies. And then you are expected to basically dump them back, because the allegations are that these bodies may have been dug up from the cemeteries by the army, or it could have been people who were killed and tortured. They had their arms tied behind their backs, and they were essentially, as we've seen at the Al-Shifa hospital, their arms were tied behind their backs and they were shot dead by these Israelis. These are mass graves, and we've discussed this before. Mass graves that you see here. This was another clip that we saw here. This was, I think, slightly earlier. Where we just expand.
Can you make the screen? Yeah, thank you. Perfect.
Yeah. This is a container of dead bodies. They decomposed. And I think we did a piece on this. I just want to add this, that when in one of the hospitals, I think it was a few months back, I think probably February, March, where you had them, they were shot dead, but those dead bodies were tied with ropes behind. So in other words, they were already bound, they were not a threat, and they were shot. Mostly decomposed, make it difficult to identify them.
اتصلوا علي بيقولوا لي في جايبين 90 جثه هنا، فقالوا لي في احتمال يكون امك او ابوك معهم موجودين. امي وابي استشهدوا اول الحرب. اخذوهم من المقبره بعد ما اندفنوا ب5 ايام تقريبا، حتى في موتتهم ما ريحوهمش. فكان نفسي يعني اشوفها اودعها اخر مره.
تعرفت على حد؟
لا مش هي.
طالب الاحتلال أن يزودنا بتلك المعلومات لتزويد أهالي هؤلاء الشهداء بالبيانات المطلوبة والرسمية، كما نناشد المنظمات الحقوقية بالوقوف معنا لمعرفة أسماء هؤلاء الشهداء ومعرفة من أين تم انتشالهم لإبلاغ ذويهم ليقوموا بدفن أبنائهم وحضور مراسم دفن أبنائهم.
So can you see this? What's happening here?
Yeah, I'm speechless, to be honest, Yusuf. I really am. But nevertheless, subhanAllah, it's happening every minute now. Updates coming through about what's happening right now. Is Israel about to invade Lebanon? Within 1 day or so, over 550 Lebanese have been killed. 90,000 displaced since the attacks began. Continuous aeroplanes flying over, dropping their 2,200 kg bombs. And is this the beginning of the end? I hope so for the IDF. I think if nobody stands up and does anything now, I can't see anything happening at all. A lot of the Western governments, on one hand, are willing to send arms and aid to the IDF, but the same breath are saying that we need a 21-day ceasefire and we need to stop fighting. But it's just hypocrisy. The two faces of these Western governments it's being really exposed. And Brother Gambit, thank you. I really appreciate that. Some kind words. This is what myself and Brother YUSUF from the South African Debate Initiative YouTube channel, we've been doing these weekly streams on a regular basis now. And we started this just after the conflict. And we mentioned regarding the allegations that the Israelis were using that women on the October 7th, women were raped, children were beheaded, and we debunked that. And also the Hannibal Directive, whereas, the narrative of the Israeli army having this directive that, they have to kill even the hostages just in case they get away. We spoke about this in length. And now we've come to this stage, nearly a year, subhanAllah, that we've been doing the streams. And the feedback I've been getting and Brother YUSUF have been getting is sometimes negative. We had a lot of backlash. We had some nut jobs contacting us, sending us messages on WhatsApp, contacting my family members, my sponsor, just some vile messages and emails. And also the fact that YouTube has shadow banned me. So I don't get as much viewers or people coming in to watch these shows due to the topic that we're discussing. So my real sincere request to the brothers and sisters is that please like, share and subscribe and hit the icon, the notification bell, because a lot of people are telling me that they're not getting notifications that we're going live. And please try your best to promote this channel. And of course, Brother YUSUF's channel, the South African Debate Initiative. It's called SADI. Go up and subscribe to the brother's channel. We really need to continue with this project that we're doing in exposing the Zionist regime and helping the brothers and sisters in whatever which way we can. Either it's by these streams or promoting the cause by buying books or whatnot. we have to keep our best and keep up the spirits of the Palestinian people, and of course now the people in Lebanon. I just want to mention regarding, we spoke about this young lady or young girl, Ibn Rajab, wasn't it? Hind Ibn Rajab, the story about this beautiful young girl who was in a vehicle, and the IDF basically shot the parents, the driver, and even her sister. I've actually looked into the story. It's a horrific story that she makes a phone call to the Red Crescent, and even the 2 emergency workers that went to rescue her were also shot dead by the IDF. I don't know if you heard about that, Brother Yusuf. I actually did some research about that. It is devastating. It really is. And, you know, what else can I say, Brother Yusuf? You know, sometimes my heart shrinks, and it's difficult to talk about, you know.
I'm just sharing what you've raised now. That's it there. We've discussed her many times. This little girl, basically the forensic architecture probe, this is from the Middle East Eye, showed that this vehicle this girl was in, this small little, I think she's about 6 years old, was hit with 335 bullets, and finds it not plausible that the Israeli tank couldn't see children inside. So, you know, basically there was a UK-based research group. They published the findings of forensic investigation. This was, I think it happened in March, around about there. They found that this girl was killed, 335 bullets. And the investigation was conducted by Forensic Architecture, Algeria Fault Lines, and the NGO Earshot. And they stated that the gun used for the attack was firing at a range of 750 to 900 rounds per minute, and that this range exceeds that of the AK-type assault rifle that is commonly attributed to Palestinian fighters operating in Gaza. So it's Israeli army-issued weaponry. So you must be a sick, satanic, sadistic, dirty human being if you're going to support the Israelis. You're sick. And so what had happened, they killed the 15-year-old cousin, they killed her, and then when the paramedics basically came to her, they killed the paramedics. And there was one, you know, we played the footage, we played the audio where they told her to, and she was reading Surah Fatiha. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
You remember that? That's the same thing. That in the way she was, it's the same girl. It was on 10th of February. So they were telling her to recite Surah Fatiha, and there was fear in the eyes of even of the voice of even the I think the emergency services.
Call handler.
Yeah, the Palestine Red Crescent Society. They released an audio recording the last phone call where she's saying, "I'm scared of the dark. Come get me." And then the person on the other line states, you know, let's read Surah Fatiha. You know, we played that audio clip. If you recall, we did play that audio clip. This is that girl. They butchered her. This is deliberate. And so how can you support this? How can you support such Satanism? Such sick, satanic state? And you've got people in the area and globally, you know, where I come from and other places, they support this. These are sick individuals, sick human beings. And that's why none of them have the guts or the courage to come on this platform and debate us. That's why. Because they know that their support is a support for evil. And any support for evil cannot stand the light of day, cannot stand truth, cannot stand up to be interrogated or probed or deconstructed. And that's what's happening to the Israeli narrative. Week in and week out in our programs, we're deconstructing it. And now even in the, you know, global media, alternative media, you know, journalists like Mahdi Hassan and many others out there, Owen Jones, Novara Media, the Electronic Intifada, the Grey Zone, many alternative outlets, Kim Everson, all exposing Israel for what it is. This is the reality of the situation.
Yeah, we spoke about this beautiful little girl, and the voice message and the voice call will always kind of like echo in my head. It's very profound, very sad, heartbreaking. And what else can I say? But brothers and sisters, I really appreciate your support in the chat. And if there's anybody who wants to come on and join us maybe in the future, who also has probably got a YouTube channel who promotes or speaks up regarding the situation in Palestine, feel free to contact me, leave an email if you want to, or whatever. You can get me on Twitter or X, Abu Hams44. You can see it here on the screen. Also TikTok at CovFF.channel. And also I'm on Rumble, Abu SHUAIB, and Twitch, CovFF. So if you want to contact me, you can get hold of me on X and send me a message, and possibly we can do a Twitter feed. A Twitter feed. What do you mean, brother?
I've just shared the Twitter feed of the same news article here. There's this girl, which is a tragedy. I've just got it in the side chat. Yeah.
So if anybody else wants to link arms and raise awareness, you're most welcome, because inshallah, by linking arms together, inshallah we can maybe approach a bigger audience. So let's work together. If there's anybody out there who's willing to contribute in promoting the situation that's happening in the Middle East. But YUSUF, thank you so much. I know you've been very busy.
Pleasure.
I know you're tired. I really like your T-shirt, mashallah. The South African, mashallah, very, very nice. And please send me your address via email, and also Sister Ahmed Al-Rahman, please send me your details, and hopefully, inshallah, I can post off the books to you. Jazakallah khair. Last words to you, Brother YUSUF, before we wrap it up for today.
Well, Jazakallah khair, and thank you for that. Thank you to the viewers who basically support this channel, both channels, and regularly view us. We really appreciate your support and your contributions in terms of sharing the stream to everyone out there, because we want to get the information out there. We are presenting, at least, and we're not basically boasting, but we are presenting information that is not heard in the mainstream media. When we've debunked what happened on October 7th and some of the issues that we pick up from the alternative media streams, share this with others, because this is not being mentioned in mainstream corporate media. And so channels of this nature are extremely important. And it's important that we get this to the widest possible audience. Until next time, we'll continue with the discussion, and we'll continue debunking the Zionist lies one by one.
Yeah, I want to end on a positive note. CovFF, the Coventry Faith Foundation, or the CovFF channel, we just bought a building in Somalia, this building, and we're going to refurbish it. And it's for orphans. And this is our certificate of appreciation from the Arab Federation. And my name is right at the bottom here on the right-hand corner, Mr. Mohammed Ashraf Dad. I am a treasurer, a vice chair. And so far, I've made £119 via YouTube. So I'll be sending £119 to the orphanage. There is a handful of children who are there. As you can see, our sister are producing some meals there, quite basic. So this month's revenue, which was around about £119, will be sent to this orphanage, because we just need to kind of like refurbish it and make it into a better condition. So Jazakallah khair for all your donations. And if there's anybody else who's willing to donate and via super chat, super stickers, or becoming a member, also you can kind of donate on a regular basis, like even £1 to this account, the Coventry Faith Foundation, Monzo, sort code 040003, account number 53674158. If you can even donate £1 a month, that will be a meal for one person. So think about that, brothers and sisters. I'm not asking for £10, £15, £25 for a meal for two. I'm asking for £1 a month. If you're able to donate. That's the cost of what can you buy for £1 these days, brothers and sisters? Here in the UK, nothing. You can't buy anything really for £1. But over there in Somalia, £1 will be able to feed one young person for a day. So please, if you can donate, Jazakallah khair, donate. Brother, I've just received Jazakallah khair, brother, for that. Inshallah, that will be in next month's YouTube payment. So I'll forward that on. But so far, I have raised £119 for the orphanage and the young people there in Somalia. So COVAFEF is, mashallah, we try our best to help everybody. And, may Allah make it easy for us, because life is very short. So we've got to thank Allah for our khair, inshallah, in this life and the next life. And I just want to thank you, brothers and sisters, for being part of this project. Jazakumullah khair. This is your brother Muhammad from COVAFEF, and I was joined with our beautiful brother YUSUF ISMAIL, who speaks, mashallah, beautifully, and I wish I can learn from him, inshallah. And I have actually picked up some phrases from YUSUF since I've kind of like sat with him and enjoyed his company. Jazakallah khair, YUSUF. Inshallah, looking forward for the next one.
Inshallah, we'll certainly do that. Till then, fi aman Allah, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.